Welcome to Greek Verse a Day. Today we're dealing with Revelation 1:3. A bit longer of a verse this time around, but there's some repetitive structures in it that make it a little bit easier. As always, I encourage you to work from your Reader's Edition of the Greek New Testament. Think of this as your place of engagement with the video up here as a way to guide you through it. So we're going to read the text twice. We're going to have a pause for you to take a look at this, the verse yourself, and then I'll walk us through some grammatical features of it. So let's start with a nice slow reading. Makarios ha anagenoskon kai hoi akuantes tous lagus tes propheteos kai teruntes ta in aute gegramena ha gar kairos engus. One more time, a little bit faster. Makarios ha anagenoskon kai hoi akuantes tous lagus tes propheteos kai teruntes ta in aute gegramena ha gar kairos engus. So as always, I ask that you go ahead and look at the verse on your own for a few minutes here, see what sense you can make of it, and I'll come in and offer some confirmation and correction. All right, so the odd thing about this verse is that there is no indicative verb in the entire thing. In fact, to this point in Revelation, in these first few verses, we've had indicative verbs, but we haven't had a sentence that has an indicative verb as its main verb in the clause. All the indicative verbs have been in relative clauses or things of that sort. And once again, in the start of a new sentence here, we have no indicative verb. And that's because what we have instead is predicate relationships between the nouns. And remember that when we have a predicate relationship between nouns and adjectives, we can think of this as, or we use the translation is, or we often think of the predicate sort of that relationship as an equal sign, that the to be verb is assumed in the space between the two nouns that go together. And so in this case, we have makarios in the nominative and ha anagenoskon and hoi akuantes both in the nominative. So these are all nominatives. I would put boxes around them if I were marking them, or as I am marking them right now. Same with makarios right here. So that we're going to have blessed is. The is comes from this relationship, this predicate relationship between the words here. Blessed is the one. Notice that this is a nominative masculine singular. It's one person reading. Presumably this is the person reading the apocalypse out loud to one or more congregations in Asia Minor. Blessed is the one reading and those hearing. So here we have a nominative masculine plural. So both of these are participles. They're both going to be present active participles, nominative, masculine. In this case, we have a singular, and in this case over here, we have a plural. And these are both going to be adjectival participles. Notice that they have an article before it. That's our clue to the adjectival participle. And specifically, they're substantival adjectival participles. That is, they're functioning as the noun in the sentence, the reader and the hearers. And what is read and what is heard, namely the object of the participle. Remember, a participle can take an object because its participles are sort of part verb. And the what the object is tous lagus tes propheteos. So those, the reader and the hearer, and what they hear is the word of prophecy. So here we have a genitive feminine singular, describing the words. Sorry, I said word of prophecy earlier. I meant the words of prophecy. So here, Revelation is sort of self-declaring that it is prophecy. Remember, the very first word of Revelation is apocalypsis, which is a title, which meaning revelation or unveiling. So we have a title for Revelation, but here we also have the sense that what Revelation is, that it contains prophecy, or that it is prophecy, or that its words are prophecy. So the reader reads and the hearers hear the words of prophecy. And kai teruntes, here we have another participle with all of the same parsing information from up here. This is a present active participle, nominative, masculine, plural. So it's, notice this epsilon sigma ending. So this is our third declension, nominative plural ending here that we use for the participle. And so we're going to translate this and keeping. This is from tereo, which means to keep. And so if we want to triple underline this as a participle here, or you could also, because it's in the nominative, and it's sort of still functioning as a subject in a way of this stuff here, insofar as it's related to these participles back here. We might put a box around it as well. And this is going to tell us what is kept. This whole thing right here is the object. Ta in aute gegramena. So there is, these two go together. Ta and gegramena. So the ta here is going to give us the noun information about this participle, namely that it is a neuter accusative plural. Remember, when it comes to a participle, we can always get our noun information from the article that goes with it if the participle is adjectival and has a definite article that goes with it. And then the rest of our, parsing information for this participle here is going to be perfect. So notice we have reduplication of the, didn't change my color, of the gamma here. So this reduplication is our sign to the perfect tense of the participle, and then the min in here is going to be our middle or passive. So this is perfect middle or passive, probably passive here because it's the things written. They are passively acted upon by being written. So perfect passive participle, neuter accusative plural from grapho. So the things written, and notice that stuck in between our definite article and our participle is in aute. So this is sort of just stuck in there, and this is there's a handy name for this, where Greek will use the definite article and have the final word to which the definite article is related, but in between there's other stuff that tells us more information, and this word is hyperbaton. Hyperbaton is when information is stuck between a definite article and the noun or participle with which it goes. And the in aute here is in it, namely in the prophecy. So the antecedent for aute is going to have to be something in the feminine and the singular, because we have a dative feminine singular here. And the thing that's closest is propheteos. This is feminine singular. So our antecedent is going to be the prophecy. So they're keeping the words written in it. And then this last bit sort of stands on its own, ha, gar, kairos, engus. And once again, we have this predicate relationship here. Engus is actually an adverb that means near. So it doesn't actually have case, gender, or number. So it's not a nominative masculine singular. It's just simply an adverb. But it's sort of still functioning in this predicate kind of relationship where we assume the translation of the to be verb is in there. And ha kairos is time, the time. And this gar, notice, remember it's post positive. That means it goes after positive position. Post meaning after, positive meaning first. So it puts itself second in a sentence or a clause. Gar will never be the first word in a sentence or a clause. That's why it is interrupting ha and kairos, which go together. So for the time is near. So let's put all of Revelation 1:3 back together here. We have Makaria, not reading it, just in English. Blessed is the one reading and those hearing the words of prophecy and keeping the things written in it, namely the prophecy, for the time is near.